Hello, everyone. Steve Westman. Welcome to this Friday's Audiophile Roundtable. It's all about vinyl remorse. Is it a real thing? Welcome, guys. I'm going to bring on our guests right away. Just want to let everyone know it's Happy Thanksgiving Day here in Canada. If you're an American, yes, we don't have Thanksgiving the same weekend as Americans, and we'll get into that as well today. But thank you. Vinyl Remorse. I think this is going to be a fun one. I always say that, but I definitely feel it's going to be. Let's bring on, you've heard him before, seen him before. It's Comrade Maslov. How are you?
You have to change the no remorse to no regrets. That's what you told me it was, because my choices don't work if it's remorse over regrets.
Well, okay. It's both then. How's that?
Okay.
How are you?
I'm good.
Good. You knew it was Canadian Thanksgiving?
I did not. I
So
didn't realize
I got this. Yeah, I'm going to teach everyone today a little bit of Canadian history once we get our other guests on, just quickly, because we don't have Thanksgiving. Is it like the third week of November as an American?
Well, that's
it's not
interesting.
like that.
I think we have on this coming Monday. I think is Columbus Day. So or not.
Yeah. So we have Thanksgiving
what used
on Monday.
to be called Columbus Day, but I think
so. I want to bring on some guests. Can we do that? And how are you? And how are you for this weekend? Doing good?
I'm doing good. I got a COVID booster, and my arm is sore as hell.
And you're ready for this show? You did your homework. You got my memos all week.
I don't need to do homework. I know music. It's about the music.
It's about the music. There you go. Okay, let's bring on our next guest here.
Comrade.
You finally got that, Sir George Borden. How are you?
I'm doing fine.
There you go. So, as you know, since he's relatives to Prime Minister Borden, you know about Canadian Thanksgiving. So I'll give a history lesson on that. Thanks for coming on today. Remorse, regret, vinyl remorse, buyer's remorse, regret, and we're talking vinyl today. We're not talking about anything but vinyl remorse, guys. Did you get that part of the memo? It's not about relationship. Okay, you got that. So thanks for doing this today. I think this will be a lot of fun. We have one more guest. Now, I'm wearing this shirt. This is High Fidelity Records. The fellow we're having on has a website called highfidelityrecords.com, and he happens to sell High Fidelity Records. He happened to work for Chad at AP as a buyer. He's got many years of experience. He's a friend of the show, been on the show many times. So let's bring on Josh Norrid, High Fidelity Records. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you, gentlemen?
We're good. You got the memo. This is vinyl remorse or regret. I mean, Mazzy doesn't like it now. It's regret or remorse. He's got a lot of regret or remorse, but not about vinyl, maybe. I don't know. Right, Comrade Maslov?
I'm not going with the comment. That's a Maslovian flip.
Oh, God. Welcome, guys, to this Friday show. I think it'll be lots of fun. Now, Canadian history. Sir George would know about this, having Canadian ancestry. We've got our Thanksgiving coming up here on Monday in Canada. It's weird because you guys have it third week of November, I think, right? Or third Thursday of November or something like that. Mm-hmm. So I was looking the other day. Here it is. So why is Canadian Thanksgiving different? The Canadian government finally settled an October Thanksgiving celebration in 1957. Why? The date lined up with the end of the Canadian autumn harvest, and it's early enough to avoid the freezing cold of winter. So there is the reason why our Canadian Thanksgiving is this weekend and not November when it's cold across Canada. I did not know that until I looked that up just today.
They don't teach you that in school?
1957, no. So this was Mazzy in San Francisco in 1957. You recognize the picture, Mazzy? There you are. There you are on the right side. Yeah.
That's actually going down. You'll see the bottom. You'll see that is where the Panama Pacific Exposition was. Or no, that's the second one. That's the 30s.
What's the very top? Very top.
Yeah, that's the Palace of Fine Arts. Okay. And the Exploratorium used to be there. It's not. Mm-hmm. That was built in the 1930s for the World's Fair. On all that area, that's the marina is on landfill. That's why when we had our earthquake, the Loma Prieta, a lot of those buildings, they gave way because it's all on sand. Landfill.
So there's Mazzy on the right holding his brother's hand.
I'm an only child, so
just work with me here, Mazzy. You're holding your cousin's hand. You guys are singing "Hound Dog" by Elvis Presley in 1957. There it is. Okay. Anyways, welcome, vinyl. Anyways, we should probably start maybe some news of the week. You know what? I want to start this. Sorry. No. I'm going to do this a little bit different. I mean, you guys are here. I want everyone to see your channels as well. We know Norman Maslov's channel there. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Sir George, there it is. Hit that subscription button, please. Great stuff there. And then my friend Josh, High Fidelity Records. There is his YouTube channel. Subscribe to that. And then I think I even did this, Josh, just for fun. That's your website. There it is. Yes, highfidelityrecords.com. So take a look at that. And I'm wearing your shirt today.
Was that a Crosley? Was that a Crosley?
You know what? I was going to ask you about this. What's up? What's up with that? Was that a joke just to get people to? Was that like a? What was that? Why do you have
looks like stock photography to me?
What's going on there?
It is. So it was either go appeal to the audiophiles, or you're always design over, and that just photo popped with what was over it. It was kind of a design versus. And I knew not everyone would be an audiophile that would be visiting the website. So, it was kind of a call that I had to make, and I liked that photo. But I'm saying no to the Crosleys.
And just to tell the folks that don't know you, you work for, I guess, Acoustic Sounds as a buyer with Chad for a while. So you got some experience over at his shop.
Yeah, definitely experience just seeing how it all worked. I mean, seeing, the pressing planters right there to the right, a block away from the offices. And then, I actually slept in the basement when I lived there, where of the church that he has. And in the top of the basement is where they have the mastering lab, which is obviously Doug Sack's famous mastering lab. So, I couldn't sleep most nights, so I'd go up there and hang out with Mr. Matt Luthens, who we know who works for Chad and also works for Kevin out in Los Angeles. And we'd go up there, and he was just happy to have somebody there and taught me a ton. And I learned how the sausage was made, as they say. And
the secret sauce. And that's how long were you working for Chad for? Like how long of the time period?
Yeah, over a year.
Nice.
Yeah. So you lived in the church?
I did, yeah. I lived in.
Now, is it zoned for live work, or is this an illegal act?
Are you trying to get Chad in trouble?
I'm just kidding.
No. He gave me. So I actually live in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So I'm about 4 hours away from Salina. So I would drive up, and I would just stay all week, and then I would drive back on the weekends. Some weekends I would stay, but yeah, I got to see a lot of cool things. I got to see the QRP, got to hang out with Gary Salstrom, got to stuff that normal folks.
Hang on, you would have gotten to see the White Stripes production then if you were there at that time, right? I would assume, or were you past that point?
That was something I think that was pretty recent from my understanding. Yeah. But I was there. I knew about the Atlantic 75 stuff.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I knew that was coming, and knew, a lot of the stuff that's coming around the pike, and they've got some great releases coming out. I'm super excited for a lot of the Atlantic 75 stuff. Of course, like everyone, we're all waiting for the Zeppelin. And I think that's something they're still working on, but you're starting these rumors now about Zeppelin with AP? Is this what I'm hearing right now from you? I'm not saying anything that's not being said on the forums and everything. I'm just saying that that's
George he just plugged his ears for that one. I have spoken to I've spoken to Patrick Milligan at A&R at Rhino, and I know that's they're finding it hard, right, to get the licensing or trying to negotiate all that. So if Chad can do it, God bless, right? That would be amazing. And then Mazzy can get the trunk. You can get the full Zeppelin 45 RPM one-sided Zeppelin trunk. That would be amazing.
Many times I had possession of that. Coffee Dave, one of my guests, regulars, had the trunk and the Anvil case, and it was in my house for 6 months. I listened to it straight through once, and it is the biggest overweighted. I tell you, I would almost mock that more than the Uber box I have by George Harrison, because it doesn't need to be one side. I think some of their stuff sounded great. Some of it was too bright. I'm not a big fan.
We're doing vinyl remorse today. This is a really good segue into this.
That's not mine, but I sold it for him. We sold it for like over $9,000. He bought it for like $1,600 or $1,800. So I was his sales rep in a way for it. But it was, it was interesting. I think it's too much. One-sided to me doesn't make any sense. So.
Well, I've plugged everyone but myself. If you guys want gear, you're in Vancouver, you want to go on our website, hificenter.ca. Lots of great stuff you can see here. We've got the P10 sitting here. I've got the Pure Fidelity over here to my left, which I had the fellows on my show. Great gear. Mazzy, you were not sleeping in this room. You're sleeping in the one right behind me here, just so you know where I'm at right now. So we're going to talk about vinyl. Yes, George.
Speaking of remorse, next time you get the booster, and you don't want the arm soreness, just get the snortable version.
That's called cocaine.
Oh God,
I don't do drugs.
Just get it's a snortable booster. It's
Are
out.
you joking? Are you serious?
Look at your local pharmacy. No,
it's called cocaine, maybe.
I don't know. See, everyone's making shit up these days, so I don't know what's going on.
Let's focus on vinyl remorse. Do we have regrets? I have no regrets, and I'll tell you why in a bit as well.
News? I got a news.
Well, I've got news. I know.
Okay.
Yeah, let me go first because then it's on my head here. So look at this here. This is released. This is Roger Waters, the reimagined Dark Side of the Moon. I'm not buying it because I ain't wanting no remorse from that. I don't want to hear it. I actually don't care to hear that one. Any thoughts? Am I crazy to say that?
Aside from the anti-Semitic part of it, I'm passing too.
Josh, are you buying his reimagine?
Hey, I'm gonna pass. I've heard Dark Side. I've been listening to it since I was a little kid. I love it. That's the version I'm rolling with, and I'm not really interested in what he wants to do without the other members because they contributed. No matter what he says, they were a part of that. So yeah, I'm out.
Sir George,
I'm neither here nor there. I don't buy half of the stuff that they say about Roger Waters. I get it. There's a lot of polarizing figure. He wrote a lot of the material, but like Josh was saying, there was other people that were involved. I think that I'd probably listen to it once and give it a chance to just see what he's trying to do with it. Because I don't know. I haven't heard any press or anything about him. I don't know if he's trying to besmirch the other guys by doing it. He did it with The Wall. You know, when you watch his redo of The Wall recently, 5-6 years ago, he kind of updated it. He kind of thinks that a lot of the things that he's written are sort of malleable to the times. And I think sometimes what happens is he rethinks a position that he had when he wrote something before, and he wants to modernize it or at least bring it into today's mindset. I'm assuming that that's what he's doing with Dark Side of the Moon. It was always a sort of a universal concept about life and life experiences. I don't know if I would regret listening to it once, and I don't know if I would regret buying it. I don't know though either if I would prefer to listen to it over the other one, but I would probably give it a shot. He's reinvented The Wall a bunch of times, and every time he did it, I thought it was fun to watch.
Okay.
So
I would say I don't mind those kind of things when an artist goes on tour and tours an album, and even if it's a part like Jerry Harrison and I forgot who else is doing a part of Talking Heads or something they're doing. I forget what they're doing. So I don't mind that. I mean, The Wall is essentially Waters' project anyway. Yes, there's other stuff, but whereas Dark Side is really more of a group effort, I think. I'm not a fan of The Wall. I never have been. I think it's bloated. I like maybe one side of it if I could pull it together. That's just me. But all power to any artist should do what they want, and I can take it or leave it.
I have no problem with it. Again, I'm not giving them any more money. I mean, the 50th anniversary just came out this year as well. So there's a lot of Dark Side of the Moon issues and copies out. I think I'm done. I've got a lot of copies myself. I'm not going to have that vinyl remorse. So today's topic is vinyl remorse. I'm going to start with you, Mazzy. Which one is that? Is that an original UK?
This is like an 80s press with the original posters and the stickers in it. I bought it yesterday at a record store.
And how much would you buy? How much are those going for now? Because they've sold like 60 million of those. So it's not like it's rare.
No, it's not rare. It has the posters intact and the stickers intact. So I needed a clean copy with the stuff intact. It was like $45.
Yeah, there you go.
Before we go into the regrets, I do want to say about the new thing, and I can't review it yet because it arrives tomorrow. But those of you who've been following Vinyl Me Please, I'm not a Vinyl Me Please member, but when I want something, if I can, I buy it, and it's $10-20 more if it's a box set. I bought the Electric Miles box. I love that period. I have all but 2 of the originals, the Columbia, and I have several of them on MoFi. And my box doesn't arrive till tomorrow, so I can't review it. But everything I've heard about it, the reviews that so far have been, they're in most cases, except for maybe one title I've heard, they're better. They besting the MoFi. And for me, the MoFis are better than the originals. Joe Harley agrees with me. If you're watching, Joe, he thinks the MoFis kick ass over the originals, except for Kind of Blue, which is different. But this is that electronic period. Don't just order it unless you listen to this period, because it's not for everyone. But I think in Silent Way, that's the starting one. And so at 69, that's my favorite Miles Davis album. So I think people, don't sleep on this one. It's not sold out. It's not close. It's $350, which if I count it, it ends up being $30 per LP. 2 of them are double records. So that's something. But again, audition the music first, because some of it's kind of jagged and out there and jammy and electric. I mean, obviously it's called electric. So I just wanted to throw that out, but I haven't heard it yet. So.
Sounds like there's going to be a Miles Electric Mazzy video happening in the next day or two.
Well, I need to digest it. I don't want to just grab a box and make a video. I don't do that. Yeah. Some people like to just show it and do it. That's not what I'm doing. Okay. The regrets. I thought about this long and hard, and I really have no regrets. Seriously, I have no regrets. And that's what I want to go into, except since Josh is here and he has a connection, the only regret I kind of had, and not that it's a bad release, but, and no offense, but is this. And only because I love this record. It's not a great recorded record. No. This possibly, the best parts of this sound better than any version. But to me, it's inconsistent sound-wise. To me, Wind Cries Mary is the best friggin' thing on this. Side 1, I don't like really at all. I think sometimes, especially with this album, you hear too much. And I don't think this is the kind of album. But so, and it's not just because of the box, it's recording. But I have 4 other UHQRs I like. But I just thought for my presentation, I'm thinking out of the box. Since I don't have any regrets, I want to show a 1960 album by Tom Rush. Which it's called The Circle Game. The Circle Game is a track that Joni Mitchell wrote before Joni Mitchell was famous. He's a folk singer from the whole Greenwich Village scene, baritone voice. He wrote a song. The final song on here is called No Regrets. It's a folk song called No Regrets. A great friggin' song. He covered it again years later with a great guitar lick and more production and beefed up No Regrets. And of course, it became the biggest final hit in the UK in 1975 by the Walker Brothers, No Regrets. So
you're really doing a pun on this. I love it.
I broke the rules, and I really don't have any regrets on records I've bought.
I love it. So, I mean, again, I'm, being from Canada,
we get H for effort.
I like this. I got to promote this. So I don't know if anyone's heard of Tom Cochrane and Red Rider. Mm-hmm. He's got a song called No Regrets too. And he has no regrets either. So there you go.
That's the Life is the Highway guy.
That's the Life is Highway from Saskatchewan, but I was born in Manitoba. So he was from Manitoba, Lynn Lake, Manitoba. But yeah, Life is the Highway. Big League was another one of his big songs, but no, he has no regrets either. Same as Scott Walker.
You know who Scott Walker is?
Lunatic
Scott
Fringe.
Walker is an American. The Walker brothers are not brothers. He went to England. They became big in the UK. They had No Regrets is probably their only hit here, but they were bigger in the UK. He has this low sort of baritone voice. He was very influential to David Bowie. Sounds like it. When David Bowie does those dark songs, the last few albums, middle period, he takes a lot of that from Scott Walker's recordings, and he just died in the last couple of years. But interesting artist, very almost like Anthony Newley on like steroids or something. And David Bowie, that kind of when Bowie does this magnificent sound that people either like or don't like. So No Regrets. That's Mazzy's.
I love it. Because I think the title is Vinyl Remorse. Any regrets on that?
Well, you texted me regrets, so I went with the regrets.
Did I change it? Doesn't matter. I mean, Vinyl Remorse, regrets, sort of means the same thing. I think for me, just because I love vinyl, I love the fact that it's tangible. I don't regret it because it's going into it, researching it, listening to podcasts or watching videos like this, going on the Facebook forums or the different forums and learning about these records, and then going out and ordering it if you had to be online, or going out to the record store. So I like the feel of it all. So maybe it's not, maybe it's some of these records that I've purchased in the past aren't the greatest or turned out not to be the greatest, but I have no regrets because I like the overall experience that I feel when I basically are looking to buy a record. And I just love that feeling and having that tangible record in front of me, which is so much different than streaming. So it really brings me back to my youth, where I used to have a $20 Canadian bill and go on a Saturday, take the bus down, -40 weather in Winnipeg, and go to the different record stores around there and buy a couple of records. I mean, that was my thing. And I mean, amazing, just amazing. So I don't have regrets at all.
-40?
So in Canada, -40 Celsius is the same as -40 Fahrenheit. So I grew up in Winnipeg, which is in the heart of Canada, the middle of Canada. -40 Fahrenheit, -40 Celsius. They basically come together at that point. It is cold, guys. We were playing hockey outside until March, April when I was growing up.
You need to get a record and a bottle of hooch when it's that cold.
Well, I think my dad and my parents' friends, when they were watching us play hockey outside, had like flasks to keep warm. I'm almost convinced they did. So yeah, no regrets. I just love vinyl collecting. Been doing it since I was 12 years old in 1986. So I mean, even I guess the one thing you get to hear a lot of flack about the Stereo Beatles box that was cut years back. Was that 2009? I think it was. I think I have that. I don't listen to it at all. So I mean, do I regret that? No, because at the time I quite enjoyed it. But I mean, looking at, just listening to it now compared to some of the other stuff, I don't listen to it again. I think that needs to be, I think that's one area, the stereo box, that could be a refresher right there, where they could take it right from the masters. I've always thought that too. That would be nice. None of the Giles Martin what do you call that, Mazzy? Reimagined, or whatever you call the Giles Martin.
Well,
you call it the All in the Family remix, or something like that. But I mean, just taking it straight from the stereo tapes and then cutting it. I mean, that would be really nice.
We talked about that before. I think the Beatles stuff, I wish they would go out of the family, out of the Abbey Road people, go to, obviously the Kevin Grays of the world, but I just think a set of ears that's not part of the Abbey Road Martin Beatles family, for my take,
Yeah. I want to let Joey G Audio know that I've been in contact with Randy Bachman's manager, because I'm trying to get him on the show. Being from Winnipeg, I know anyways. So hopefully that happens at one time. We can take care of some business here on the show. I think that'd be really cool. So no, I don't have any regrets. I think it's a fun journey. I don't regret it. I don't think I would continue doing it if I had that many regrets. Right? That's how I see that.
Yeah.
Sir George, thoughts?
Okay, so I don't really regret buying a record, but what I sometimes do fall for, and I regret sometimes going for it, is I fall into sort of that collector mentality thing where I see people talking about a particular record. I already have 2 or 3 copies of it. I get convinced, that I need to try that. Like, for instance, I regret starting off my one-step phase with Carole King Tapestry. Literally, that record, I wish I never would have bought it. I know, regret's a strong term, but if there was anything, it would be like that.
I have Vinyl Remorse as the title. Vinyl Remorse.
So there's room. I do have a little remorse for the fact that I actually started off, that, because it made me suspicious of all of it. And then since then, I've taken a shot on a couple of other ones, and I was immensely pleased. I do like the Hotel California, for instance. I like it. I like the Eagles ones. I think they're good. But I do wish that I had not started with that. And then and the other part of it, it's like I used to get the records, and I would get the posters out, and I would hang the posters on my wall. And then eventually we would move or something, and I didn't save everything and put it all back. And so I have these sort of incomplete things where, and then I start to fall for that idea that, like, again, I was just showing you guys, I bought this not because I need another copy of it, but because it's got the stuff intact. Right. And I bought this. I've already got 3 copies of this, but I don't have the little sleeve on there. So sometimes I fall into that trap of thinking that, and again, it's not going to make me listen to the record anymore. So it is vinyl remorse, right? I fall into that thing where it's like, if there's a record and it has all these components to it, And that's part of what I like about it. I like all those tangibles and all those things that you get to pull apart and look at. And I do, and I pull them out, I look at them, and then I hang the Beatles posters on my wall or something like that. And then I sort of have remorse because I wish I would have kept it intact. Not necessarily because I think that it's going to bring me value, because I'm never going to sell them. It's more because I wish that I had the whole thing exactly the way that it was supposed to be, if that makes any sense. And I start to feel bad because I actually utilized the stuff that came in the record. And so it's not usually the music or the record that I bought or what it sounds like. It's usually more about what I did with it in the long run. And I have these really originally, good old copies of records that are they still play back great, but I don't have the ability, ephemera or whatever it's called, right? Having all the little bits and pieces to it. I wish I would have kept those intact and kept the records the way that they came, so I could experience it every time I pull the record out, if that makes any sense.
And I think a lot of people, a lot of viewers, I mean, where the vinyl remorse might come in, I mean, we've talked about it, in nausea already, the whole MoFi gate, DSD gate, but I still have all my one steps. Number one, I can't return them because the class action lawsuit is only American, not Canadian. And think about it. Why would I return them anyways? I bought them. I thought they sounded good at the time. And I still think they sound good at the time. Why would I give them back?
Yeah. Well,
that's how I see it.
Sure. Yeah.
So I have no remorse, no regret. I'm definitely feeling more like my Canadian Tom Cochrane here. No regrets, baby.
Life is a highway, baby.
Life is a highway, the big leagues, but Lunatic Fringe, right, George? That is a song.
We all know you're out there.
There you go. I actually got a chance to, when I worked as a stockbroker for Merrill Lynch a million years ago, one of our private parties, Merrill Lynch brought Tom Cochrane in for a show. Cost $50,000. That's what he was charging. But man, you get to meet him and talk to him afterwards with the band. But that's kind of cool, having a private concert of Tom Cochrane. I really enjoyed that. That was really cool. And definitely have no regrets going to that concert and talking to Tom afterwards. So yeah.
What about Big Sugar? Do you like Big Sugar?
Who are you asking?
You.
No. Oh. Why are you asking me that?
Because they're from Canada.
It doesn't matter if they're just because they're from Canada. I don't like every single Canadian band. The thing is, I grew up in Winnipeg, and so I went to school like when Backman Turner Overdrive, Fred Turner. I went to school with his kids, so I used to go to Fred Turner's house, and in his basement was a little recording studio with all the guitars and gold records and stuff, and Corvettes in the garage. And you sit there as a 12-year-old going, "Holy crap, this is crazy to see." So it was neat to see that in a day when I was young. That was a really cool experience for me.
So let's hear Josh's regrets now.
I'm waiting, Josh. Big Sugar is definitely not one of them for you.
Church for a year?
Yeah, that was I have some stories maybe for okay, one regret from there. So I'll tell you one story about living in the church. So the church
go back a little bit. So I'm just confused. Is the church owned by Chad? What is this church? Okay. That's okay. Make sure we know, everyone's clear on that one. The church is owned by, so Chad owns the Church of AP. Is that what it's called?
It's called. Give me 1 second. I'll be listening, but just give me 1 second. I got the thing here.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm trying to be rude.
All good. Yeah. So the church is actually, I think he calls it Blue Heaven Studios, right? And he used to have these blues concerts there. But what people don't know about the church is it's infested with bats, and especially, I mean, everywhere. But down in the
you're making this up. Come on, this is great.
There's bat guano in this edition.
I am absolutely not. Yeah. So we would have the guy that stayed there before me, that was staying where I stayed. He actually called the police one night because he was so afraid of the bats. So, but anyways, so one night I'm like going to the kitchen, like in my unmentionables, and it's in the dark. I'm going.
That's a lot of details, man. You're really going for it here.
Yeah, a lot of details. So anyways, I'm going and I'm like, these guys are full of it about these bats. And I mean, this bat flies up and gooses me right in the, can I say ass? Gooses me right in the ass as I'm walking to the kitchen. And I'm like, what the hell was that?
You can get rabies from that stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, he didn't take a bite. He was just a love tap.
You could have been the next Robin.
Yeah, right.
So
Yeah.
I hope, and that's where they store
boy
all the
wonder.
and they store all the UHQRs in that facility, right? So there's a lot of bat crap. No, I'm just
No.
No. But I will tell you, up in the not in the basement, but in the attic, there's tons of like old sleeves and boxes. So there's like, I mean, I remember being like, man, these are all the original AP sleeves. Oh man, he's got all these like extra DCC sleeves and extra mosaic boxes. Yeah, and extra UHQR boxes, right?
Maybe
Yeah,
I should send it back to him.
is there any bat feces on there? Have a good look.
there's definitely some bat feces.
You won best story on live stream award by Dean Baker. Congratulations.
Yeah, so it's definitely, it's probably haunted, but there's definitely a bat issue happening in there. So okay, so to circle back around to our topic,
We have a topic today. I forgot. Okay, good.
Yeah, no regrets, as the kids say. So I guess my main regret would be, and this is, hindsight is 2020. During that whole time, and not to pick on MoFi again. All of the Miles Davis titles, the Dylan titles, they're out. We think they're out of print, so you want them and you didn't get them. So now,
and stop you there, because I've been on the website. It says out of print. So in my head, it's like, okay, you can never get them again. I got to go to Discogs and spend way more money, right?
Which is what we did and what I did. I paid money to to get Bitches Brew and because I was like, I'm never going to get these things again. And as I go back and I look at it, I think what MoFi's business model, or what they were trying to model after, was kind of the illusion of scarcity, kind of like Nike does. So Nike, if you're not a sneakerhead like I am, I'm also a sneakerhead. They could make thousands of these tennis shoes. There's no way that they now, I get it that we had a backup in the pressing plants during COVID and everything, but I'm talking pre-COVID. And so this illusion of scarcity has people like me running out and paying $200 or $300 for Bitches Brew. And I bought all of these only to later, find out, well, they're not out of print at all. Actually, they're going to make them again. And
hence why you're bitching right now.
To be devil's advocate, and I don't know this, and this is a good question. All these labels, including Chad, they get a licensing, a quantity or time limit. Now, it could be that Columbia, Sony, gave them a license, and then some years later extended the license. I don't know that for a fact, but that could be the deal.
And we did learn that when Chad was on Michael 45's live stream about Phil Collins' Face Value. I think he said that it wasn't a quantity, it was time. So it could be 6-month license, not like how many you press or how many you can
come
press.
Back and change their mind.
And I never knew that. I always assumed that it was just how many you could press.
It depends. Everything is negotiable.
Sir George,
don't forget the Bob Marley UHQRs as well. There was a specific amount, and a portion of them had to be given to the Bob Marley site as well. It was very specific.
Now, what if in 2 years Bob Marley lets them do 3,000 more?
And then they should.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
At the time,
and then someone's going to be pissed because they paid twice as much or something.
There you go. But it wasn't. Yeah, I guess I think the thing that we're predisposed to do is jump to the conclusion that they're duping us, and sometimes maybe they are, or maybe sometimes it's just poetic license on the hype sticker or something like that, whatever it might be. I think there's a lot of people making a lot of decisions about stuff, and it comes from different categories. It's like we were talking about hype stickers the other day, and hype stickers the band doesn't decide what the hype sticker says. The label does. It was like we were talking, like Led Zeppelin 4, right? They didn't want to put the band's name on the cover. They had to fight with the record company to make the cover be the way they wanted. And then the second pressing comes out with a big sticker on it, like, featuring Stairway to Heaven. That wasn't Jimmy Page's idea to do that. You know what I mean? Or the mastering engineer, or the recording engineer, or the producer's idea.
So true. So, well, I did a video on that hype sticker because I went and talked to Miles Scholl because he had one that cut the Avalon Roxy Music. It says right on that hype sticker on my video, cut from the 1/4-inch master tapes. Well, it wasn't cut directly from those tapes. So I went back because I had a lot of viewers ask me, well, Steve, did he cut them directly from tapes? And so I went back to Miles. He says, no. I cut them from a digital file, and that file came from the tapes. I mean, I get it, because you're going to be cutting half speed on digital these days.
People should look toward. I mean, I know people aren't experienced like this or aren't knowledgeable about the art world of limited editions, because limited editions aren't really limited editions. For instance, you could have let's say Richard Avedon. Okay, you could have a Richard Avedon when he was alive. You could, or even at post death, but it's different because there are things about printing vintage prints from the negative when the artist is alive versus the estate. You could have 16 by 20 prints, 500 copies numbered by the artist, and that's it. 500 copies, that's it. You can have 11 by 14 version. You got 6 by 12 version. 20 years later, 5 years later, you can have the 2010. You can have editions. They're basically editions. So when you say there's 2,000 copies numbered, what's happening now, we know 2,000 is numbered. Then after that, they're unnumbered. It could be.
So here's a couple things. So Simon Murray here, this is interesting too, right? The Jeff Beck Truth that MoFi put out, it was strictly limited. He says it was strictly limited to 4K copies, and then 5K on the sleeve was a misprint. Then he dies, and then they made 1,000 more anyways. So yeah, I remember that, because I remember when they announced that pre coming out or release that it was 4K. Or it was 5K, and then it went back to 4K. I do remember that. Absolutely.
Well, I also remember the Lee Morgan Live at the Lighthouse box set, that it was limited to a specific amount, but there was also overrun. And so once they had sold out of the numbered version, I actually bought an overrun that's unnumbered.
And I was going to ask you that, George, specifically, because I know there was an overrun with the UHQR. It was the Exodus UHQR, because I know there was there issues with the website that day. There was a run on Chad's website, if you guys recall, that day. So some people couldn't get it. We know it was only limited to what, 30? Was it 3,500 for the Exodus? I think it was. So I think and I did talk to Chad about this, and I mean, maybe Josh, you would be able to answer this as well. I think there's about a 200 pressing overrun for those type of problems. Would I be correct in saying that would be the amount?
Correct. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's what Chad did tell me as well. So that makes sense that some of the people got those UHQRs without the number, because those are the overrun amounts. I guess, is it for damaged goods as well, damaged products coming back? Because I don't think Chad went and sent out 200 of the overrun to all the people that were able to get it on the website.
If you're going to make a 5,000 limited run, and somebody gets someone's damaged in UPS, you better have more to back it up.
But shouldn't the thing be, and this is probably kumbaya from my point of view, is you buy the record because you like the music, and don't buy a record. I've never bought a record for investment, for worrying about what it's going to sell like. And if it goes down, who gives a crap? I mean, really? I mean, if you went out and bought it for a Santana for $1,800, that's on you. And all of a sudden, if MoFi is allowed to repress and you paid $1,800 and it's around for $150, are you going to feel you'll feel?
You know what's interesting about that? The Abrascus is an interesting case with MoFi, right? Because after this all came out, the Abrascus aftermarket price really hasn't been affected by the whole MoFi gate, where every other title has, which I find very interesting. So everyone's complaining about this whole MoFi thing, but it's that good. So a lot of the Marleys are good.
That's the reason.
My Nightfly is good. These are some good stuff. I think where it boils down to is that people feel like they were lied to, and I understand that. And we can beat a dead horse, but I do understand it. But yeah, Abrascus really never got affected by the whole thing.
I think Josh has more regrets, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think what I was going for on the
living at the church, or what regrets are we talking about, Josh?
Oh God, well, what stays in the church, what happens there stays there. So between me and the bats, but I think where I was going with the illusion of scarcity, and what I've noticed now is at that time the MoFi product was extremely sought after, right? Just like some of these, drawing the parallel between some of these Air Jordans and some of these limited edition releases. So people are buying them, as Mazzy said, as kind of an investment. Well, now that the MoFi product isn't as desirable, they've changed their business model. I think a lot of these releases are going to be continually available for a long, long time. They're not going to play that, sold out in a day kind of stuff. Because what that illusion of scarcity does, it always has people theming for it and theming for the product and checking and what's coming out next. I have to be the first person to know. And then what Chad has done on the other end of the spectrum is he's decided, oh, well, all these people want this $150 record. I'll make 20,000 of them.
Sounds like Steely Dan.
But what he doesn't realize is once you've released, you've gotten rid of that illusion of scarcity, or real scarcity, like in like when we talk about the mono and the early UHQRs where he was only doing a few thousand of them. You know, once you get rid of that, it gets rid of the FOMO, and then you have 10,000 records sitting in your in your warehouse. You know,
a simple thing that we can also be completely on point with here is that it is a lot harder today to build up a stockpile and a backlog of 150 artists with 1,000 albums each on stock. Right now, it is way harder to do that now than it was in 1983. Yeah, and it's 1,000 times harder to do that. You know, even right now, if I want to get a record made and I only want to get 500 done or even 1,000 done, I got to wait for months to do it. It's not. There's a lot of people right now trying to make a lot of records, and when you also throw into it that you want to have this quality and this cover and this artwork and these labels, this custom this and that custom that, and you would throw all that together and you want it to coincide and have them all meet together in one place where people by hand are going to put them together, and they're going to put all that stuff together, and then they're going to shrink wrap them, and then they're going to ship them. That is not something that we're geared up to do as much anymore. Hands-on people doing stuff, putting things together by hand and making it be cost effective.
It's really gonna suck when AI takes over the record business too.
It's a more difficult endeavor right now to do it. And if you're talking about having 1,000 titles together and stock for them, totally different vibe. And Mazzy knows this. You know, he worked at.
I'm going to call it right now. I don't think MoFi is ever going to repress Abraxas one step. That would be probably corporate suicide for them.
Certainly. Find a mint original. I know
I have an original Canadian. I think sounds really good too. I don't know.
If you're not being that, something. A friend of mine sent me a picture over the last weekend, and I actually posted on Instagram yesterday, and I got the most views. And it was interesting for me. It's like a look back, and my friend Brooks took this picture in my apartment in 1987, 88 of my record collection as it was, like a time. And I don't have any pictures of what it looked like. And this just all of a sudden reminded
me. I want to put it up here. Hold on.
Okay, this is this is San Francisco in the Panhandle, Western Edition, 1987 or 88. This is my collection of Hafler gear and my dual turntable, which I have downstairs now. I had about 5,000 albums then.
Yeah.
And this just reminded me because just to look back and see, I remember that apartment, a great flat I had, but it just remembered in 1995, and I didn't even think of this when you brought up the question. 1995, I sold 2,000 of my records to a friend of mine who I used to work with, who worked at Amoeba in Berkeley, because Amoeba in San Francisco hadn't opened yet. He came over, and I picked out 2,000 albums I wanted to get rid of, and I got $2,500 for 2,000 records. And looking back on, okay, now I realize that should have been my regret choice, because looking back, since then I've bought most back, but in those days I had like the first week every Led Zeppelin came out. So my guess is, we didn't know about RLs in those days. No. My guess is I had that record, which I probably played my copy 10 times. I was getting so many records in the record business. My records were in pristine condition. You get so much, you'd have time to play them over and over and over, because you get so I regret selling those records that I sold for CDs.
Oh man, you were in the golden era right there, Mazzy.
Yeah, it was. This was 50 years ago this year. I got my first record store job. The
year I was born, Mazzy. I turned 50. I turned 50 next month. One of your groupies just put a message up for you, George. There you go.
But by the way, this guy just lives like 10 minutes away from me, like right in Berkeley. And we'll have to hang out sometime. But no, it's not a new backdrop. Let's just get past the backdrop thing, folks. I'm at someone else's house, and so I'm sitting in someone's dining room with.
I forced George to come on. He was just like, I can't do it, but he's on anyways, and I appreciate that. No, I don't have. Like I said, I don't have many regrets. Hey, I guess I'm I'm basically typing to everyone. Thanks, Dave. We have our moderator Dave in the background. He types for me apparently, so thank you for that. So if you see Steve Westman come up, that's not me. I'm not focused on that. But we have a moderator because we were worried about trolls bugging Mazzy. So there you go. We haven't had that since because of Dave. So thank you.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Good job.
You're not in your bathroom, right, Sir George?
No, I'm not. This is not a shower
Okay.
curtain. It's just a regular old curtain. I was getting blown out with the light coming through the back.
Okay.
Oh,
And
yeah.
apparently he's not a groupie, but the president of the Sir George Borden fan club. Thank you, Jefferson, for that. That's funny. So it sounds to me like really as collectors, as enthusiasts, it's not really remorse that we have, more or less. I think Mazzy, that's a good story about buying or selling 2,000 records for $2,500. That's hindsight, though. Who would have known?
Exactly.
But who would have known at the time? 1995 was all CD from 86 onwards. So, I mean, you were converting to CD. We all listened to CD. I loved the CD when it came out. My first 2 CDs in 1987, I think, is when I started purchasing CDs, was Rattle and Hum. I thought that sounded great on the CD player that I bought. And I bought a couple other ones at the time.
I'm just thankful lovely. I kept, 4 out of the 6,000 of them. I mean, I can't believe I did that. I know I have some friends that went total wholesale and just got rid of everything,
Definitely.
But you can't,
that's the story of boomers, it's a common story.
But I mean, that's no different in the stock market. I was in the stock market for years. I bought Apple at $40, sold it at $100, thinking that was the top. And now look what happened to it. It's hindsight.
I bought $3,000 worth of Apple for $14, and I sold it for like when it was at 80.
Yeah, there you go.
Damn it, I fucked that up.
That's hindsight. We can't, that's the way it is. Right, what can you do? No, for me, the Beatles stereo box, it's vinyl remorse because I'm never going to play it again. But at the time, I was excited. I knew it was coming out. I went and got it. I'm happy that I got it, but will never play it again. I absolutely will not.
Do we think that those stereo tape? And I know the blue and the red that they reissued were cut from the original analog tapes, but that had to have been obviously from the tape they had of the red and the blue that they'd already compiled. Do we know if the original analog stereo tapes exist and are still intact?
Oh yeah. But Abbey Road doesn't want to let them out. At this point, why not the fuck let them out? I mean, what are you going to do with them?
Well, let me announce something, because at the end of this month, Miles Scholl will be on the show for a live Q&A for the viewers to ask him questions as well. That'll be fun. So maybe we can ask them then, and maybe politely ask them to, hey, talk to the powers that be, see if there's something can happen here.
If McCartney and Ringo really wanted all analog, there would be all analog. They don't care. And, right, George? No?
Well, the point I was going to make is that if you remember, they were going to do the mono in the same way that they did the stereo, because when they took the tapes and they transferred them to digital, and at the time, nobody was complaining about it like on that kind of level. It was like, we're preserving the tapes so we can put them back in the locker, never pull them out again. And we've got these pristine digital copies that we can use to forevermore press more records. And they did it with the box set. And when the box set first came out, it wasn't like people were complaining about it. People were raving about it at the beginning. It was that when they found out, like, oh my God, these are digital masters. What the hell's going on? The backlash was so strong that they changed the mono box set.
So think about that. Isn't that really a familiar story that we just went through?
Wait. I talked to a guy at Capitol, because I went to a listening party for the stereo box in San Francisco. The guy from Capitol was touring at like Hi-Fi. There used to be a high-end stereo store on Pine at Van Ness. And what happened there, I mean, obviously Michael Fremer jumped on it, and he's, to his credit, helped that. But what really happened, it wasn't so much people hating the sound initially or the digital thing. It was because the American version pressed by Rainbow, there were tons of bad pressings. And that all of a sudden focused on the digital, and they blamed the digital where, and then people were trying to get the optimal version of it, because Rainbow fucked those up,
this is a family show, Mazzy. My goodness.
I said fucked.
There are digitally cut records. If you remember when they switched over and Capitol decided to go with the British versions in the early or the late 80s, Capitol re-released a digital cut of all those Beatle records, aligning finally Capitol's catalog to match the British ones. And those are actually sought after records.
Yeah, nobody complained.
You know, and those are all digital cuts. I have every single one of them, and they sound fine. And I don't think that the 2012 box set is a massacre. I get it. It's like it's you know it's you know we again we tend to have a tendency to focus on the one bad thing. But I have a help from the new 2012. You know, that was loose in the bin. All the records that you buy now that are loose in the bin at the record stores are digital.
Yeah.
By the Beatles, period. Every single record that's bought by the Beatles for the last 10 years, for the last decade, except for the the mono box and the rare ones that they slide into a box set, are all digital. As a matter of fact, they're going back and redigitizing the catalog, and we're the new all the new John Lennon stuff that everybody's going to buy, the new John Lennon song and the new AI stuff and all these new box sets that they buy. And the funny thing is that the Revolver box set came out. I wasn't looking for the mono Revolver in there. I was looking for the extra crap, the outtakes and stuff. And that's all digital. And all the remixes are digital, and all of it's digital. And it's not, and people are a lot of people love the remixes. A lot of people are talking about and stuff.
I forget which Abbey Road people worked on what. I hate to say it, but I agree with George a lot, because to me, the George Harrison recent reissues that were digital, they were compressed, all things in the past. We talked about that a little bit. But I tell you, I really liked, and it was a different guy worked with Sean on the Plastic Ono Band and Imagine, and those CD boxes that came out, and even those vinyl versions, they sound really good. They're digital, but they sound better than the Harrison equivalent, and even some of the McCartney stuff. So I think, no offense to Miles, and that's just maybe a taste thing, that someone likes one person and it's the other guy. I forgot if someone who worked with Sean on those two Lennon sets. I forgot his name.
And the George Harrison non-remix box set, I believe that's all digitally sourced stuff too. It doesn't sound bad at all. Yeah, I'm not talking about the remix, the new stuff.
So you're talking the 30th anniversary that came out.
That box set with the the lenticular cover that changes its face and all that kind of stuff. I bought that, and I have all the OGs as well. And I listened to the new ones now. Whereas the Queen box set, I can't even listen to those. I can't even listen to the Queen box set. I think it's abomination. If you want to get into an abomination, that thing sounds horrible, and it isn't digital. It's just horrible.
Ryan, in answer to that, people aren't worrying about Blue Note. Jazz records weren't ever, the tapes weren't used as much as rock and roll records. That's part of it. Beatle records, I mean, they're pressed endlessly, and Stones records. But look at the Stones. We all love the Stones mono box. That's digital.
It's DSD.
Yeah.
If they're most of the Beatle records were remastered 4 or 5 times before we even got halfway through the 70s.
Yeah.
Let's not forget that. They had to recut those records the same year that they came out. They were remastered.
Until you had us yokels bitching about things on YouTube and the vinyl community, people didn't give a shit. They got their record and they enjoyed their friggin' record. Now they want the next greatest thing. They want the box set. We're guilty. I'm guilty. We're influencers. And you buy the same crap over and over again.
Well, going back to the Beatles mono box, I mean, that's obviously all analog cuts, but it's not there's one digital cut in that entire box, and that's Love Me Do, because they don't have the original tapes for that. Right. It is a digital cut.
Yeah.
No, it's a needle drop, right?
From Australia, I think they used.
The needle drop was in the box set, or same with Penny Lane, I believe, right?
I'd have to go back. I did ask when I interviewed Sean McGee from Abbey Road. I believe he said it was Love Me Do was a digital. He said something about it. They had to go to find a copy from Australia. Again, you'd have to go back to my interview to see, but definitely.
And if you hear interviews with Sean McGee and people like that, and even Alan Parsons and all these people, they kind of scoff at the all analog people. It's like, really? What are you talking about?
Well, Miles Scholl, I mean, he's a friend of mine, and we go back and forth a lot. He's a true believer in digital. I mean, he's going to die by the sword on that.
And he believes in half speed, and then Kevin Gray will say, half speed, are you crazy? I mean,
but Kevin Gray likes DSD 256. Okay, so I mean,
not half speed cutting,
But still, I mean, we've come a long way since MoFi Gate.
Yeah, I paid up for the mono box 9 times out of 10. If I'm going to listen to a Beatle record, I hate to say this, I will listen to either the BC-13, right, or I'll play the MoFi box.
Yeah. So you like the Ricker cuts?
I don't have any problem with it.
Yeah.
I don't have, again, I realize that some people don't have an EQ and they want it to be exactly the way that they want to hear it, but to be honest with you, when those record cuts came out in the day, those early ones, people were hating on some of the early Beatle mixes and how mid-rangey they were and how they sounded like they were coming out of an AM radio right off the bat. And that MoFi box was pretty sought after for by a lot of people. And I bought it just because everybody was talking crap about. I bought it after the MoFi scandal. And I didn't buy it because it was cheap. I bought it because I just wanted to find something good about it. And like it can't be this bad. Everybody's hating on it so much. I was like, I just want to listen to this and see what's on there. That's why I wanted it for my own.
And just so everyone knows, I'm sure you know too, George, but the Sgt. Pepper album off the MoFi is actually cut by Jack Hunt, not by Stanley Ricker.
Yeah, wait, I don't buy the record thinking about who mastered it. I don't really care. I just wanted to hear it.
What came out, I think, 2 years ago, which I really like, and I think they're half speed, I don't know, but they're Out of Abbey Road, and I think are brilliant and beat the originals. I don't have UK originals, though, are the Brian Ferry solo records. Those at Abbey Road are excellent records. There's pop to them, there's snap, crackle, pop. I mean, in the wrong way. They sound really good. And when I bought one, or someone gave me one, and I turned it up, and it blew me away. So I went downstairs and pulled one of my originals, American Atlantic, and it was better. It was fuller. And I think it's a digital cut. Because they don't do analog either. And I didn't like the Roxy Music ones as much. I had one of the recuts of that, and I have original Roxy albums. But the Brian Ferry surprised me.
And here's the thing: lots of reviews of the Who's Next album, the half-speed plangent process, the full-speed plangent process. Everyone's raving about it. They say it's a very good sounding record. Any thoughts?
It's not my best, but it's. Yeah, I got it because of the box, and I was so disappointed with the live set that I kind of put. That's a regret. Okay.
I got another regret. Tell us, Mazzy. What's your regret?
That I was so disappointed in the sound they got out of that, like 16. I know 16 track isn't guaranteed, but that 16 track of the Civic Auditorium. Civic Auditorium is a live room. It's not a great sounding room, but I was at that show, and come on, I mean, it seems like the mix is dull. It's just off. And I wanted to do it because I went one of the shows, and I don't like it personally. So if anyone wants it, I'll sell it to them for a list.
And speaking of regrets, one of the big regrets that a lot of people are talking about is the Pretzel Logic. And last Sunday, I played the OG against the UHQR on to 100 people, and no one could tell the difference. And I made one little tiny adjustment, and all of a sudden, nobody could tell the difference, except for some people pointed out that the mid-range of the UHQR sounded a lot better than the mid-range on the OG.
That goes back to that one. We did that show a few weeks ago about
them.
All the variables. There's so many variables involved in listening. I mean, you really can't figure it all out, right? I mean, everyone has different ears too.
And that's what I mean. It's like when I hear somebody's bagging on a record that makes me want to buy it, and it makes me want to try to find something in there that might be positive. And this goes with regrets too. It's like I don't regret it because I can find something positive in all the records.
And I can see Chad's frustration when we talk. We got us YouTubers get on there and talk about his records or that record. I understand because he's an enthusiast. He loves his product, and I respect that. So I understand his frustration.
Did you boost the record, George, for the audience?
I added 2.5 decibels at 10K, and that was it. And made a volume adjustment by taking the OG down to match the UHQR, which was cut a little bit quiet.
That's like buying like a great cake at your favorite bakery, and you get it home and you have to add something to it to make it taste good, I think, personally.
Which is better than throwing it away and regretting it.
I agree with that. Absolutely.
And I did mention, I mean, the Asia UHQR is coming out October 29th, and word is you won't be disappointed. Sounds wonderful.
I'm still going to be awesome to beat the Cisco. The Cisco and the original are killer. So.
Yeah, and this one's right up there. So the AB1006, the Cisco and the UHQR, I mean, these are going to be killers, and the UHQR is not. No one's going to be disappointed by it.
Josh,
what I was told.
I get flack on my channel for having my television between my speakers, and it seems like you have the same setup as I do. I have an Oppo too, by the way. But is that is that a speaker to your right shoulder, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So you have a TV. Okay. I rest my case, gentlemen. And
Those are Cornwalls, correct? There,
yeah,
Josh?
Cornwalls.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have like a 900 square foot home, so I just had to do with what I could.
Do you like it?
I love it. Yeah.
Okay, that's all that matters.
I love it.
Doesn't matter.
Best if I had a bigger home, obviously I would have a dedicated listening room and the television somewhere else. But for now, this is what we got. So
if you enjoy it, enjoy it.
So, gentlemen, we're wrapping this up. Top of the hour. Any last thoughts here about vinyl remorse? Any regrets? I mean, I'll start with you, George. Go 1 minute.
I don't ever want to regret anything. I do sometimes have a little remorse for sort of following along with certain things that I hear.
These damn YouTubers following along with the FOMO.
Well, yeah, I get influenced by the influencers and
Mazzy.
It's not a bad thing. Yeah, Mazzy's made me buy a bunch of horrible records, and I'm mad about that. No, I'm just kidding. I do sometimes though. I kind of fall for it, and I have the problem of as soon as everybody starts complaining about it, I go buy it and I try to find something unremorseful about it. And that's sort of, for some reason, built into my psyche for some reason. So, no regrets, no remorse, but, I wish I wouldn't have started with that Carole King. So I guess I do have.
There you go. Josh, go.
Yeah, definitely. Regrets. I would say and this is something I really want people to know. If you find clean originals of albums that you love, get them. Going back to our conversation about digital records, that's going to become the norm. By the time I'm in my 60s, 70s, and 80s, I guarantee that the all analog reissue game will be pretty dried up by that point. So get used to it. But if you can find clean originals now, go get them. That's
because you'll have no regrets.
Yeah, because I have regrets from getting rid of some of my clean originals, and here I am, trying to find them again. So get out there, kids. Hunt down those originals. They're awesome.
Okay, Mazzy, you're going to wrap it up here. We're wrapping up with you.
Oh, to be 33 years old again in San Francisco, paying $600 a rent for an entire upstairs flat. I miss that.
There you go.
I do regret that I wasn't around when Mazzy sold those records. That's
nobody. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Oh my gosh! All right, gentlemen, thank you. I'm gonna have, and I think it was John Bandy asked if the food's any different in Canadian Thanksgiving than American Thanksgiving. It's turkey, baby. So no, it's no different at all. We have a big turkey weekend planned on Sunday. The whole family's coming over, so we'll enjoy that. So, guys, thank you so much. Awesome show. This has been great. We'll do it again.
Thank you all.
Bye, George. Bye, Josh.
Bye.
Bye, Steve. See ya. Thank you.